All right, you want to talk your big board. You want to speculate on landing spot. You want to do all this sort of stuff. That's cool. That's cool by me anytime, but not today. Not today. This is the first day of spring training because this is my Hall of Fame game today. When I can turn on Nesson and I see the Bo Sox playing some college team I've never fucking heard of in my whole life, and there's baseball on the screen, there's fresh cut grass, there's fine dirt, there's pine tar in the air. I can practically smell it right now. I am buzzing in hot right now because today is my Canton, Ohio. Nez, what do you think about
It's the
that?
hot, it's our Hall of Fame game, man. We're
It's
we're here.
our yes.
We're really
I
here.
love it.
This is like the most normal spring training that we've had in a few years, and it's not even completely normal because we still
Right.
have the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah, but I mean, it's fun, man. Baseball's back. Baseball's back in a big way. I mean, there's just something so beautiful about just watching guys hit on the backfields. Guys are gonna come in. They're gonna pitch 1, 2 innings. We're gonna get a little spice. We're gonna see a little like jacked up, man. Like I don't know. I'm
I
excited.
love
I'm
it,
excited.
man. There's just so much. Even if you're a fan of a team like me, like there's just so much optimism, man. Like no one's no one's struck out yet. No one's lost. It's just pure hope in the air, and it's
Yeah,
great.
exactly. It's
And
bliss.
we're breaking through. We're breaking through to some warmer weather. To some. Oh man, I really can't wait. Like I'm itching
Yeah.
for these next 4 weeks or so to pass by.
Love it, man. Love it. Yeah, we kicked it off nicely yesterday on Pete's stream. If you guys didn't check that one
Oh
out,
yeah.
by all means, go back. That was a lot of fun. Just, we basically turned baseball into a ship trip chasing draft. And
We
that was
did.
great. Yeah,
That was
it
a
was great.
total ship chasing build. Like
Yeah.
that could not have translated better if we tried. As far as the
Mhm.
people that we drafted, we got some guys for the bit. We got some guys that are inevitably going to blow up on us. But oh man, if we could just think about the potential of some of the guys that we drafted on that stream, it was to the moon, to the
That's
moon.
what it's about. Yeah, two housekeeping things right off the hop. Obviously, Numi's not with us. Numi's a little bit down for the count right now. He's been grinding hard recently. He was looking after his cats, who had one of them had surgery, got no sleep for like 2 days there, then ran back to back streams with us. Plus, he was grinding in the streets, building the sheets. Hopefully he gets well soon, and hopefully he's back with us next week there. And then we debuted it yesterday. The big news that we are going to be some baseball guys for the Big Dog Company there, for the black and
How about it?
yellow and white dog app. And the first thing you guys can do to help us out there is in the link below. We put the new channel where we will be residing going forward. I think we're almost up to 100 subs already there.
97. If we don't get
97.
100 by the end of the show,
Come
come
on.
on, guys.
Yeah, do us a favor, hit that one there, hit the sub, because we haven't fully ironed out the schedule yet, but it's looking like 2 days a week at minimum over there, doing exclusively baseball stuff to start, and then go from there. So yeah, really looking forward to that. But what do you say, Nez? We just jump in here today.
Man, let's go. These dingers are filling, man. We're almost at 40% full now for the dinger. So pretty impressive.
Love it.
Pretty impressive, I will say. I'm very excited to see how quickly these are filling up, and I'm definitely doing my fill. I'm doing my part. I'm about like 55 done right now.
Yep,
So I do plan
that's better than
on
me.
doing my 150. I do plan.
I, I like that. I mean, that's better than me. I know both of you guys got the initial contest. You got 150 down in the first one, right?
No, actually,
In the
I
bullpen?
only did I did 100.
Oh,
For
okay.
the for the bullpen, I got like 85 for the first bullpen. Um,
Yeah, I think Numi got 150.
he completely maxed it. I was proud of him. Um, and baseball got pretty close too. But yeah,
Nice.
I did 86. Felt good about it. It was a nice, like, I needed to like stop. I didn't want to burn myself out before the big one. So
Hmm. Um, yeah, I kind of felt the same way where it was like I loaded all those slows. I did like 40 of them, and I was just like, oh my God, my feed is just littered with slow drafts all the time. I need to kick
yeah.
these back and just go back to my fast drafting lifestyle and start ripping dingers.
Hmm.
That's a loaded sentence. Maybe we'll shelf Drafting dingers.
Ripping.
Ripping dingers.
Yeah, like I love drafting all the time. It's different volume drafting baseball compared to volume drafting football, in my opinion, because like you have to bake in like so much more variance in football than you do in baseball. So it's like, we're taking these guys that we are very confident and comfortable in like over and over and over. So there is a bit of that like that fatigue there. So you kind of have to make decisions like, okay, how am I approaching my portfolio if you are going to attack this from a heavy volume standpoint? And for me, what I've been doing is like not getting cute. Just like, hey, if I end up with a lot, like I might have like way more dudes in the 20% exposure range than I did last year. And just like leaning into my informed decisions more than I did last year, where I tried to mix up my exposures to get flat.
I like that. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've thought about it from a macro level quite yet in that
Mhm.
capacity. Right now, there definitely are spots that I'm leaning into, and there we'll highlight some of them as we rip some drafts here. But yeah, I don't know. Let's just start with a couple of these rosters because this is where I
Okay.
wanted to start.
Yeah.
I wanted to start here today. We can do it either via baseball sheet or I have roster resource on Fangraphs
Let's do a
pulled
little
up
roster resource
here.
peek.
Okay. What Nez and I wanted to do today was there are 5 big league teams playing today, and we're going to start with my boys here. The Mariners are playing the Padres in the afternoon here. The Red Sox are currently on right now. We have our first live pitch of baseball. This probably get us canceled here.
Be careful. Be careful. Okay, we get it. We get it. Manfred don't mess around, man. I'm telling you.
But we got our first real life pitch of baseball right there. I was actually surprised to see Rafael Devers is playing third base right now, so that's pretty
That's
cool.
awesome.
7 inning game there. But yeah, of the 3 teams, or I mean, sorry, of the 5 teams playing today, I think we can kind of do like rapid fire on these because the player pool in which we're dealing with in our contest is significantly smaller than if we were drafting like 50 rounds in the NFBC or we're drafting like some of those hardo leagues like that. And that's what actually makes our game so much more accessible for recreational players or just for fans of best ball and not necessarily fans of baseball yet. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So
Exactly.
I'm really happy about that. But first thing with this, the ADP of Mariners, we basically see 4 of them go every single draft. Talking hitters only right now, we see 4 of them go every single draft in Julio Ty-France, Teoscar Hernandez, and Eugenio Suarez. Have you been mixing them in at all, Nez, or are you interested in getting exploitative on any of them?
Not necessarily like exploitative. I think they're all good. They're all good picks. Every
Yeah.
one of these guys is a good pick. You don't like you can throw in like, oh, what about like if they get injured? Obviously, that would throw a wrench in any of these guys. But the only one that I think is the most egregious here, as far as ADP goes for our contest, is Teoscar. I haven't
Hmm.
quite I haven't quite bought into his ADP. Uh,
Okay.
it's really high right now, and I think everywhere you look and it's varies depending on like the format, but regardless of format, he's just like too expensive for me, and I don't know if that's just because he's being stacked with Julio a lot, but not somebody that I'm taking a lot, but he's a good pick. Like I'm not saying that he's a bad pick by any means, but
Hmm.
I have literally none of him right now in the dinger.
Yeah, I'm pretty light on him as well. I think it's just an area in which I'm not really looking to grab outfield. I kind of like drop down a tier from there because I like some of the names that are behind a little bit more, like taking a
Yeah.
swing on a guy like Chris Bryant or something like that. But yeah, I mean, traveling now, moving to a poor ballpark after a down year for the Mariners to be even in contention in any capacity, they're going to either have to make some moves or that top 5, top 6 of that lineup is going to have to play out of their minds.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, but the pitching staff is
That
is
is, yeah.
beautiful. all four of them get drafted every draft in Luis Castillo, one of the highest risers currently. And then Robbie Ray, big strikeout upside. We know it there. I think my biggest takeaway right now is I'm kind of fine with everybody's ADP. I'm a little bit off of Teoscar like you are. And I do think I threw out a tweet earlier today about I've been mixing in some late round Colton Wong as a stat guy, and
Yeah.
now seeing him lead off. I mean, if today is indicative of anything, it's very, very early and whatever. But just from a thought process standpoint, I was kind of like, he'd be in the 5-6 range.
Yeah.
Leading off Colton Wong in the 20th round, you could do worse.
He's going to be their fifth or sixth best hitter, like
Right.
every day. So I do think this is a really good exercise to go through. I mean, it's a lot, but to go through every team's like roster resource and like see like who is projected to be an everyday guy and somebody that you maybe don't take or you don't see anybody take. Colton Wong rarely gets picked in these drafts, and you can say what you will, but if you want some unique texture to your teams, can't you can do a lot worse than an everyday Colton Wong, and he will be every day. I mean, he's a Gold Glover, and he's not, and he's an average bat. You could catch him on a hot week, in the playoffs, and get a score that nobody else will have.
And the nice thing about his glove has been down a little bit in recent memory, but if we just go with a little bit of his historical profile, is his glove is what will keep him in the lineup regardless, even if he's struggling like a little bit at the dish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's kind of like AJ Pollock, like the perennial veteran who's like, if he can stay healthy, maybe he can put up counting stats as like a 20th round guy in the middle of the lineup. I think it's a little thin here, but he was getting drafted at a great deal last year, first with the Dodgers and then traded mid-draft season to Chicago. But the other one is Jared Kelenic, a former top 3 pick, something like that, burst onto the scene with a home run in his first game. He was the prize piece of that Robinson Cano and Edwin Diaz deal. I don't know, like kind of like that sexy darling where can he finally put it together? He gives me big Joe Adell vibes. How about you?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely off Kelenic, but there is that's definitely somebody that you could take a stab or two on if you're drafting in volume, just because of like the former like top prospect pedigree there, and under the guys that, hey, maybe he like is putting something together, but I won't have any Jared Kelenic.
Yeah. Hey, this is the doing right by Colton Wong, where they sign his 27-year-old brother to play in the minors there. Respect that move by the Mariners. Yeah, that's actually pretty good comp.
That's
Chip.
Hilarious.
Kelenic as Visca Chenault. That's a pretty good comp. I mean,
Yeah.
Kelenic had much higher draft stock and pedigree, but the way we hyped Visca in the same regard, that hits there. What's up, guys? Yo, love to see everybody hanging out here. Appreciate you all. Yeah, hey, Nick had nice cash in NBA last night, or at least when I looked. Yeah, I'm pretty sure like a top 10 for sure there.
Oh, nice. That was a big slate.
This is what I'm feeling right now. Ace is all over it, man.
Can't
Smell
you
the
just
pine
hear it?
dart, sound of the
Smell
ball.
it?
Oh man, just listen to the boys snap it around the infield right now. Just man, clanking mitts, just dropping the palm, little quick transfer. Ooh, baby.
I'm ready.
That's me going. I love it. Okay, let's anything else to say on Seattle? I mean, we know they'll make moves. They're a move-based team at the deadline. Dylan Moore, they gave a big contract to. He was like a fringe 2020 candidate 2 years ago. I think he's going to be a platoon guy and like an injury guy. I don't think he's viable in our player pool.
No, I don't think so either. I have really like nothing else to add other than like in dailies. I will probably be mixing in guys like Cal Raleigh, big dumper who can hit bombs and has the potential to be, like on a given day, one of the highest scoring batters like on a slate. But for best ball, I won't have him in best ball, but definitely somebody that I'm going to keep an eye out for dailies with the right matchup.
Yeah. I like that shout for sure. Like just a platoon side guy too, where Tom Murphy and him will be splitting a little bit, probably less than last year after we saw kind of like the explosion of Cal Raleigh at the end of the year.
Right.
But just a guy who can get into two versus a lefty on a given day. I mean, he's a switch hitter, but
Mhm.
like, yeah. Um, Live update, breaking news right now. Jaron Duran with an opposite field double off of the pseudo monster in spring training. Lefty, a guy that I've been hyping a little bit as a late 20th round pick there.
Hitting it off of a future
Uh,
tax accountant, I'm guessing. A future PE teacher in a Boston school,
hey,
local school.
don't you cap this man's potential from a university that goes by NU. I don't
Northeastern.
know.
That's Northeastern.
Is it Northeastern? Oh, okay,
Yeah,
fine. That's
yeah.
fair.
Not
This says NU. It says NU on like the box score here, and I'm like, ooh.
not a Power 5 conference.
No, definitely not a Power 5 conference. Now he has to face Rafael Devers with a 3-0 count. Anyways, this is too fun. I love spring training, man. All right, let's go to the Rangers. I know you've
Okay.
had an affinity for some of these Rangers. In particular, you've been talking up a little bit of the bind that dip on the Corey Seager, and I know you were on the Nathaniel Lowe train last year. What else are you seeing with the Rangers that you like and price point wise, Nez?
So Adolis is a really expensive guy as well. Hey, nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying these guys. Hold on, hold that thought. Adolis is going to be expensive. Sort of like Teoscar, where like yeah, these
Mhm.
guys are good players, but their prices are it's tough. You can probably replace them with a couple players later in the draft, but the thing that I really like is that his lineup is sick. I mean, hitting behind Simeon Seager and Nate Lowe, the guys that are big boppers and that can get on base. That's going to be a lot of ribby opportunities for Adolis. I've really liked Jonah Heim as well. Again,
Mhm.
probably more of like a dailies type of pick whenever he's starting, just because he's a catcher and not necessarily like an elite catcher, but he's good and he's pretty underrated. This Grossman signing that they just brought on, he's interesting. I don't think that he's like the thing is that they don't have like anybody behind him. Like they brought him in out of like desperation, and
Right.
he's 33 and he gets on base. That's really his calling card, is that he's going to get on base. But he could play his way out of there if he's bad enough. And then one of the more interesting ones is Josh Young. He's the third baseman, rookie of the year candidate in the AL. He is somebody that I've been mixing in whenever I am taking Rangers, leaving a spot in my infield position for Young late, because he goes really late and he has the potential to be an above average bat and gets
Mhm.
overlooked.
Yeah, I like a bunch of the names you mentioned there. I think like the hyping on the Josh Young there, it's like it makes a lot of sense to just buy the ceiling potential of a first round pick where he's free, right? We're not paying the same price tag as a Corbin Carroll. We're not paying the
Right.
same price tag as something like that. And we saw a little bit of it last year too, right? Like he came up, he
Hmm.
didn't set the world on fire, but he played at the end of last year and was, a competent piece or whatever. I've been mixing in Robbie Grossman late mainly because of what you said, where they have nobody else behind. Like,
Yeah.
look, they really want uh Leone Taveras to be like a dude, right?
Yeah.
Like,
He had a hell of a
and
stretch, a hell of a 2 week stretch last year, but that was
right,
not it.
yeah. But I mean, he's a glove. He's a 9-hole hitter or a leadoff hitter. No real in between. I do see like the 2020 ceiling potential, but I doubt it comes to fruition. And I think it's way too deep for this pool. I really like the Adolis and Teoscar comp as kind of like, here, let me pose you a question.
Okay.
If there was no outfield designation, if Adolis Garcia and Teoscar Hernandez are infielders, which round do they go in Underdog? Because I think they're both thrust up heavily because of the fact that they're outfielders, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
Mhm.
all things equal, I probably around where like Eugenio and like Ty France go.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Maybe maybe slightly higher than Ty France. I think Ty France is 140. That 140 range. Who we dealing with in that range? Yeah, like who would you rather have? Okay, this is pure hypotheticals. Teoscar Hernandez or Jake Cronenworth if they're both infield eligible.
Teoscar Cronenworth. If we're like,
interesting. Okay, yeah.
dude,
All
I
right.
love Jake Cronenworth. He's going to be an everyday player there, and that lineup is like just absolutely sick.
Yeah, it is.
And
It's
he's
filthy.
good, and he's
Yeah.
good. But I mean, like, so if we're talking, like Ty France, per the bat projected to be a 115 WRC plus, but that's low. The bat is that's bat X, so screw that. Everybody else has 124, like 124 range for his WRC plus. And
Yeah.
then if we're looking at Teoscar and his, I hope this isn't gonna. So yeah, it's about the same. It's like they project him about the same for a WRC plus, which is just like a TLDR is just like 100 is average, and anything above that is like percentage points above average as far as like how you create offense for your team. It translates like almost 1-to-1 basically, like, minus like factoring in park factors for OPS, which is just on base plus slugging. So if you want to go by that route, you can as well. But I think yeah, they're about like the same, but like it's that positional scarcity, obviously, that is that's giving them such a heavy boost in ADP.
Yeah, no, I respect that. Good takes there. Let's talk. I don't think there's a T-Bear was asking about Mitch Garver. I think it's too thin for our player pool. I think
Yeah.
we will see rotational at catcher there. Like everyone knows Mitch Garver as pop, but like the thing is like Jonah Heim is kind of like running away with that in my opinion. Like I think they want Jonah Heim to be their everyday guy, and then if catcher becomes like some form of platoon, or they start mixing in Mitch Garver at first base a little bit, something like that. Even if he gets 400 plate appearances, like he's not, even if he gets 450 or something like that, he's not going to be relevant to our underdog scoring game, in my opinion.
Yeah, they're so thin. I mean, like they're gonna have Mitch Garver be like an everyday DH, and his numbers were down last year, but he was hurt like a lot. But like right now, I think who do they have at DH? They have Brad Miller. Like dude, that just tells like they they are so thin. If Brad Miller is your DH, like
They're so top
what's
heavy,
going
right?
on? It's incredibly top heavy. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
they're
like,
so top
they're a
heavy.
bit of a house of cards as well. But if everything does work out for them health wise, like that can be enough to give them a pretty good boost in their division. Now this staff is interesting. The staff is very interesting.
So Jacob deGrom is the first 3-round pick every single time. There was a little scare about some shoulder stuff early, or was it shoulder? The initial report.
What is it this time? Yeah, no, I thought it was yeah, maybe it was shoulder. Let me see. Well, he threw he threw a bullpen session, so like
that's where I was going with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he threw 22 pitches yesterday, and kind of felt fine and whatever. And this is what we do with Jacob deGrom every single year. He fluctuates. His ADP fluctuates from back end first rounder to middle of third round based on what we hear health related throughout spring training, right? So my thesis on deGrom in these drafts is never pay the ceiling and just always buy the dip. That's kind of like always been my perennial thesis with deGrom. It kind of stung you a little bit last year, but the innings you get out of him are profound, right? Like you get elite innings out of him when he's out there, but you want that at that third round or that late second round price tag, not when we see him in spring training for 2 innings. He strikes out, 6 hitters and he's throwing 100 every other pitch, right? And you buy into that.
Yeah, if deGrom throws, I mean, I don't know. I mean, even if he is healthy, I don't know that we'll ever see him throw. Like let's say he has like no IL stints. I don't even think, given that, they would let him throw 200 innings this year. But I mean, that is a hell of an ask. Like not like almost like there's a handful of pitchers that do that this year. I think would say his ceiling is probably around like 150, 175 at like max health. But like you said, what you get out of those innings is like unmatched. It's absolutely unmatched. And nobody's going to touch his weekly score anytime that he starts, like anytime that he's out there. So
yeah,
just knowing his injury history, like you can kind of supplement that by taking maybe an extra pitcher or two really late just to like plug in for those, like if you are banking on DeGrom missing some time, just take a little take some extra pitchers there to plug in for that, because if you can drag a DeGrom into the playoffs that,
Hmm.
maybe people paid a price tag on and he didn't quite deliver on that like third round price.
Yeah.
Now you are unique and you have like a cheat code for the
It's
playoffs.
similar thesis to Bryce Harper in that regard.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, where it's like we know what we're getting when we get it, but if we get it, it has to come at the right window for us and it's going to have to be dragged along. I like your idea of like just knowing that you have to piggyback him with someone who's like 100 and something extra innings.
Yeah,
Um
yeah, I just think it's a good idea.
yeah, let's start ripping some more of these so we can get some drafts in here. But
Okay,
Chad, 101 subscribers to the new
let's
channel.
go.
Shouts to everybody. Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Our livelihoods depend on it.
They do.
Apparently. Strike the fear in the people, Nez. And
I want to eat,
um
guys.
yeah. Yeah, so the back end of this rotation is like very strong veteran arms who we've seen prove it before. And for me, they've been like a team where like if I punt pitcher early and I'm looking for safe projectable innings late, kind of like we did in Pete's draft yesterday, I fall back on Nate Eovaldi, on John Gray, on Andrew Heaney. There's a lot of advanced metrics that say Andrew Heaney was a lot better than the price tag in which we're getting him at right now. I'm not smart enough to rattle them all off right now, but Eno went through a couple of them, and there's been some good stuff on Twitter about that. Uh,
He
I'm
strikes out a
kind
lot of
of
guys. I mean, that's good
right.
for the ceiling. I mean, yeah, I mean, there's just certain guys, like especially late, like there's very few guys that strike out as many people he does, like a percentage of his batters that go where Andrew Heaney does. And
Mhm.
for best ball, that is like the profile that's a really good profile to take a stab at.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. Back end arms, I think basically Degrom's the only one out of this group that has to be 100% drafted. But I would say that like Martin Perez is probably my least favorite, even though we saw some elite stuff from him in isolated windows last year. He was an all-star. He had an amazing first half, and then it kind of fell off.
Hmm.
But this kind of back end projectable innings for me, I find myself clicking all three of these names in Gray, Eovaldi, and Heaney late.
Yeah, yeah, I like all those guys. Hard to ask Perez to do what he did 2 years in a
Mhm.
row, just because he's the way that he was getting his results. It's a little scary. So we'll
Yeah.
we'll see. He could. I hope he proves me wrong, because I love a good old fashioned pitch to contact type of guy, but it's tough to replicate.
It is. It's crazy how he's developed as a pitcher because when he came up, he was like a flamethrower, elite strikeout guy who just couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, right? Like
Yeah.
that's what he was. And
Hmm.
then now all of a sudden it's like, oh, I got to stick around, I got to fill the zone, I got to pitch to contact. It's crazy how he's developed in like the
Yeah,
last kind of like 6 years.
and he feels much older than he is.
Right. Yeah, he's only, what is he, 33 or
30,
32?
this is
32.
his age 32 season. Yeah.
32. Yeah. All right, let's move on to the Royals. Royals play the Rangers today. That's why we're jumping in this order. Even though we started with Seattle and then I went rogue
we had to
again.
go with your team. We had to
I
go with
yeah,
your
I
team
just I
first.
just I just got excited. Yeah, so I threw out a tweet today about some of my favorite back end stacks, and I
Hmm.
included this Salvador Perez. Salvador Perez to me feels very undervalued. When he's in the lineup, he's going to be hitting in that 3 hole. We saw him hit over 40 home runs 2 years 1 year ago. We saw him
Yeah, yeah,
not last year,
2021.
the 2021, the year before last. We saw him hit over 40 home runs, flirt with the home run crown for that season. Kansas City, underrated place to hit. It's a bad ballpark in general, but in the middle of summer when the wind is up and the heat is coming, you'll see this when we dive into the daily stuff as we go through this year that it becomes mini Coors for like 10 games a year.
Hmm. They'll get
Yeah.
some
It
extreme weather factors on the right day where you're like, oh yeah, like
yeah.
here's A Salvi Perez pop up is like leaving the yard. It's hitting the
Mhm.
fountains.
Yeah, exactly, right? But in a vacuum, bad place to hit. But
Mhm.
I've been mixing in this MJ Melendez with Salve Perez. Melendez had an amazing. He had an okay year last year, but the year before last, he had an amazing AAA year where he hit over 40 home runs. So like, they're both catchers. They both got big time pop, and they're both going to be hitting at the top of that lineup in some capacity. They're both going to be in the lineup between DH catcher, and they're both going to play 6 days a week, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of falling in love with the front end of this like order based on their price points currently. And then, yeah, I mean, Bobby Witt's a little expensive for my liking, but he's definitely like an elite ceiling. So you have to be mixing him in. But outside of the first four bats here, Franmil Reyes is the only other one I'm mixing in. How about you, Nez?
Yeah, I really like MJ Melendez as a late round pick, and obviously Vinny P is getting a ton of hype. I think another guy you can mix in if you are if you are steadfast on building a royal stack is definitely getting in some Olivares there, the
Okay.
left fielder.
Yep.
He's an average bat. But if everything in this lineup clicks, we're talking about a really underrated offense here.
Mhm.
With like you said, with leading off with Melendez, if Bobby Witt like pays off his ceiling, which like obviously he's a top prospect that everybody expects him to have a great year. With Salvi being healthy, Vinny P doing well, like lest we forget like these back end guys that they have with Isbell, and then they acquired Drew Waters as well, who's likely to get some major league time. Really underrated offense here, and I think Olivares is a guy to sprinkle in because he has that wonderful outfield designation as just like a very unique piece. He's going to play every day, and he doesn't suck. So that when you're looking for
I like
outfield,
it.
man, sometimes that's just all you need.
I like it. File away that Drew Waters name and file away Hunter Dozier's name as two guys who, in the middle of this season, when we're drafting on a Thursday and we're ripping dailies together, that we will be stacking. We will be
Yes.
stacking at some point versus a lefty with the right weather conditions. We will be stacking the shit out of Franmil Reyes, Hunter Dozier, Drew Waters stack. Mark my words, it's coming this year.
Oh, I
It's gonna
can't wait.
win somebody a daily this year. I'm calling it.
100%.
Yeah, Chip bringing up a good one here that the Royals would be a lot more fun if they weren't all infield. So you do
Definitely.
kind of have to plan ahead and be like, hey, I'm reserving 2 infield spots for when I go pitcher and outfield early, and then fall back on the Melendez plus Salvi, or fall back on. I've been doing the Framo Reyes. It's thin, but just a guy that I believe in as a 3 true outcome guy who has 40, like he has 40 homer potential. And hey,
Yeah.
I know it's the first game of spring training, and I know he just signed to a non-roster invitee contract yesterday, but he's hitting fifth today. He's hitting fifth today.
They clearly want him to work out, and why wouldn't they? I mean,
Right.
I mean, Kyle Isbell, he's an outfielder, so they need him out there to play for their intents and purposes. But like a guy like Franmil, I mean, just a disastrous year last year. Strikes out a ton, but the fact that like the pop just like went completely missing. Like I haven't done a deep dive to see like what exactly happened there, but it's kind of hard to believe that like a small change can't get him back into being like a serviceable guy in an everyday lineup because of the power that he has.
Yep. Love it. This rotation, I'm kind of just entirely steering clear from, except for basically a little bit of Brady Singer here and there. We saw it in chunks last year where Brady Singer went on like a pretty elite stretch.
I
I
like him,
want to
man.
say in I want to say in August. Does that sound familiar?
I honestly don't remember when it was exactly, but he did have a really like strong stretch of like really good out of like consistent quality start outings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in on him. His
Well, you
price
were
is
in
like
on
is
you were
fine.
the one who warmed me up to him last year because we were
Yeah,
drafting the dailies and you were taking him over um uh
it's probably making some egregious stands.
no. It was why am I blanking on the name right now? Chicago White Sox front end rotation had a down year last year.
Giolito.
Giolito. You were taking him over Giolito on like back to back like drafts, and I was like, what's this guy know that I don't know? And then you like pulled up his last like 5 starts, showed me some of the data. I was like, oh man, yeah, he might be kind of nice.
He's got some fight
Um,
in him too. I like guys that get a little feisty on the mound, and he's
a little
always
fiery.
like, yeah, he's a little fiery guy on the mound too. So I really hope that he like continues to develop because they need him bad to be good.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Outside of that, I'm kind of just not touching this. Brad Keller's got some steam in the past. I fell for the Granky trap last year as projectable innings. The problem is he just doesn't strike anybody out, and he gets shelled. Even
Dude,
his
he's like a
best
meme
starts,
at this point.
yeah, even
Like
his best starts aren't good starts,
they're
right?
not. They're not. He's there to eat innings and hopefully not blow games
Right.
and to be a draw for fans. That's
Yeah.
it. For us, like
Yeah.
you don't need to draft Zach Greinke in the dinger.
Exactly. Um, Nothing else for me to add here. One
No.
like just baseball related thing that is not necessary for our game, but just in of note of interest is their bullpen looks really good.
Yeah, it
Um,
does.
yeah, like they got Aroldis Chapman in there now to go with Barlow and who's the other B, the two back end guys.
A
Why am I
Staumont.
blanking?
I like Staumont a lot.
Staumont.
Hmm.
Yeah, not a B, Staumont. Yeah, just of note for baseball purposes, not
Hmm.
necessarily for our game. Let's go to Red Sox here. The Red Sox just put up. They just hung a big crooked number in the first on the poor northeastern poor northeastern future tax accountants. They put up a crooked number in the first there with their B squad. It's 5 buzz for the Sox, but hey, such is the Hall of Fame game, huh? Such is the Hall of Fame game.
And look at their free. Oh my gosh, man, they lost so many dudes to free agency, and they wonder. There was a really good piece in the Athletics. Somebody interviewed uh shit. He's the I think John Henry, like the
Okay.
president of operations there. And they were what's up with the booze? Like obviously like they had like a winter fest for the Red Sox. All the fans were there, everybody booed. And they're like, what do you think you're booing? He's like, we actually are like doing a lot. Like, meanwhile, they lost Xander Bogaerts, lost JD
Mhm.
Martinez, like lost Nathan Eovaldi. Like, look at all these guys they've lost, and then but they
Mhm.
re-signed Devers. Thank God, because they might have burned down Fenway Park if they didn't at least
If they didn't
extend.
get Devers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
an
agree with that.
interesting team that has a surprisingly really high payroll, uh,
Mhm.
and and some really good stacking partners in the Dinger. I'm not like completely out on the Red Sox. It's just like a very interesting path that Bloom has taken to build this team, but a lot of
Mhm.
nice pieces for us to stack late, especially here.
Yeah. This is pretty funny. People are still pissed off about John Lester leaving to say nothing of how bad even the
They don't
Mookie trade
forget,
was.
man. They don't forget over
No.
there.
Yeah. Hey, shout out to Numi Mookie. We'll give a little
Yeah,
Mookie
yeah.
shout out.
Little Mookie. They lost Mookie, and then people are still pissed.
Oh man, I love that. Yeah, so this is interesting roster. You'll notice in all these drafts that and you'll notice it in the dailies too, that there is a Yankee tax, there is a Red Sox tax, and there is a Dodger tax, right? Like you're paying an extra little bit for these clubs all the time in the same way that when the recreationals fill these draft rooms, they would be thrusting up Mahomes and the Chiefs. They would be thrusting up, like the analogy holds
Exactly.
true with some of these big market teams. I still think Devers is undervalued, as you can kind of get him in the thirds sometimes. That I mean, regardless of who's hitting around him, I know losing Trevor Story. Shout out to the Discord, way ahead of that one on the market there. That was an
That was
incredible
so
call by
sharp.
them. But yeah, I can't remember.
He doesn't
We
want to
were
be
not supposed to
named.
dox him. Yeah, he
Yeah.
who will not be named. Um, yeah, but just in general, like this roster does look like half decent top to bottom, and there's a lot of fun, interesting pieces like Adam
Yeah.
Duvall, like they added recently. we're talking about a guy who had over 30 home runs 2 years ago. Like, why can't he mix in there? Jaron Duran's not even on this list right now, and he just doubled off the wall. So I mean that, but that's just a profile that I've always really liked. Yoshida, they signed. They have him leading off here. I'm not sure if that ends up holding true, but just kind of like a middle of draft wild card. Nice compact swing. He's stout for like a I want to say like boxy looking dude.
Yeah.
Like big calves, big forearms, big like
Yeah.
Hideki Matsui esque left-handed swing. Not nearly as tall.
Yeah, he's
Um,
5'8".
yeah.
So, but like every projection system loves his tool and thinks that he's going to translate really well into the big league game. So I've been taking him quite a bit. If he's not hitting first, he's probably hitting second in this lineup. He's definitely like a top 3 hitter for them. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, Duvall is interesting. Getting him in Fenway to play with the monster, the green monster, like that could be really beneficial for him and his stats playing at home there. And Tristan Cassis as well, Tuma's boy, his
Yeah.
darling. He has that first base job like on lock, like no question.
Yeah.
Bobby Dahlbeck is for emergency purposes only. He's doesn't have a
Yeah. I
long
think that.
future in this league unless he makes some major changes,
Mhm.
just based on his hit tool as a first baseman. Cassis is really interesting. He gained a good bit of steam, not too expensive, but a lot of steam from the bullpens.
Yeah, I mean, from the bullpens, he was a fringe undrafted guy, and
Yeah,
now he's getting drafted almost every draft at like that 170, 180-ish pick range. I think it's warranted. I think
it is.
just betting on the upside there, like former first rounder, he's only 22, 23. 23. It's right in front of my face.
Yeah, I was looking for
Yeah.
that. He's good, dude.
Yeah.
He's legit.
Yeah, but there's a lot of fun players to stack here late. Kike is a very available late. He's going to be playing every single day now that Trevor Story is not there. He has no chance of losing a platoon job in center field or something like that, right?
Mhm.
And then Justin Turner, man, like Justin Turner was, I think, the third highest advance rate player last year,
Yeah,
and
something
it's
like that. Yeah.
because he did exactly what he's doing this year again. Everybody forgets about him. He's unsexy. He's just going to be that fifth and sixth hole guy. He's going to get 500 at bats, and he's just going to show up and rake. Like, that's just
Yep.
what he does. Like, and it's not fun. It's not this huge ceiling play to draft, but like in terms of stability in certain roster constructions late, just a mini stack of him and Cassis, or him and Kike, or yeah, I mean it seems very good.
It does. I'm excited to see him in Fenway. Like that's a really
Mhm.
really good part to hit, especially if you're a right-hander. So
Yeah,
this should be really good for Justin Turner, and I think
yeah.
we'll look back and be like, yeah, that was great foresight.
Yeah, great value. Like the whole narrative with the wall, right, is it turns like guys who have fringe, what we call warning track power, like guys who like they hit home runs, but like if they're in a different ballpark, they would hit 10 more kind of deal. That's exactly who Justin Turner is, right? Like he's a
Mhm.
20 homer guy, but if you give him a big wall to just bounce those doubles off of,
Yeah,
like now all of a sudden, you can add what, 6 doubles a year. I mean, that's not negligible,
it's a
especially when
lot.
you factor in the counting stats attached to those to them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really warming up to Justin Turner's price tag right now. Granted, he is older and
Mhm.
whatever, but so that's why his price tag is so suppressed. um
Exactly.
Anything else to add uh before rotation?
No, no, and this rotation to me is a little forgettable. Like, like I
Mhm.
don't really like Kluber is a little interesting because his price is so low. Like I don't see him get taken sometimes
Yep.
in these, right? Like I don't correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but I'm pretty sure his ADP is like Yeah,
Yeah, he's
it's
way
super
down.
low.
Yep.
So a guy that if you want to bet on, like, hey, I bet he pitches more innings than people think, like, go ahead.
Mhm.
I think Pavetta, shout out Donkfest, is a good pick. I think he's legitimately like a fine pick. I like him there.
Yep.
Whitlock. Let's talk a little Garrett Whitlock. We want to talk about identifying the next like Spencer Strider. Whitlock sort of has that potential. A guy who went
I
from
like
being
that shout.
like a leverage reliever to long reliever to, well, now we got to start him because he's pretty good, and and they didn't really have anybody else to start. So he was a Rule 5 pick and from the Yankees, I believe.
Mhm.
And really good stuff. Really good stuff. Um the thing is, it's like, how well is that fastball going to continue to play? Can he take like a Spencer Strider type of leap, a Javier type of leap? Who's to say? But he's legit. And you want to talk about like some upside at a really low cost. Whitlock
Mhm.
is really interesting. It comes with risk. It comes with risk because, you know, he might there's, I believe, a chance that he could go back to a long reliever type of role because he was so good in like a middle relief, just like 3 shutdown innings, like guaranteed.
Yeah, history lesson on Garrett Whitlock was his stuff is so elite that he plays up to maybe be a closer potential. So beginning of last year, it was like him and Tanner Houck were like kind of like
Right.
that fringe fifth starter kind of mold. And then they both ended up transitioning to the bullpen. But it was like, hey, Whitlock might like have closer stuff. Let's like see what he looks like in that role. And then they're like, wow, he's actually pretty stretched out. Like, let's just roll with him as long relief. And he was like 3 lockdown innings every night out of the pen, like you said, right?
Yeah,
Um,
and he didn't quite transition so well into that starting like role a la Strider. Like the wheels started to come off like after like the fourth and fifth inning because he wasn't really used to pitching more than 3 innings. But
mhm.
if they, now that he's had time to, hey, like with the mindset that you are going to be a starter, to work on some things, there's potential that he's like a really, really good starter for the Red Sox this year.
Yeah, I like that shout as like a dart throw in like a 6 pitcher build where you went pitcher early and you're just looking for like that one tack on like elite upside
Yeah.
player there where you kind of feel strong across the board on the other positions. I mean, James
And there's Chris
Paxton, Big
Sale.
Maple. I
Yeah,
love
and
James
oh yeah, your
Paxton,
boy.
and it's just I actually I almost in my lifetime almost had a base hit off him. We grew up
You
playing against each other. We grew up playing against each other, and he played in like the PBL, which is like the best league around here, or whatever. And I faced Paxton a handful of times, and I couldn't touch
Wow.
him. I could not fucking
Of
touch him.
course not. Of
He was a
course not.
couple years. He was a couple years older, but like I could not touch him.
Yeah, I bet
Um,
that's got to be one of the hardest throwers that you've ever seen, like in your life,
Yeah,
to
he
hit
packed
against.
on velo like a bit later in life, I would say, but like he was still low 90s when we were like 18 years old or
Yeah.
like 17 years old. Yeah, he was filthy. Um yeah, I got nothing else to say. The Chris Sale bet is like it's discount Jacob DeGrom bet without as high a ceiling. How's that
Yeah.
for a narrative?
No, that, I mean, you absolutely nailed that. Uh I'm like so off Chris Sale, man.
Mhm.
Uh
Yeah, I fall for it every year, but
I can't do it. Like didn't pitch in 2020. I know that was the COVID year. Didn't pitch at all. 40
mhm.
innings in 2021. 5 minutes, like, I mean, like, didn't even pitch last year, basically. I'm just not gonna do it. I'm just not. I mean, even if he is healthy, what kind of stuff is he gonna have when he comes back?
Mhm.
Is honestly like a valuable question. But he's not like, as far as our day and age goes, he's not like overly old. I mean, he's 33, but with the wrath of injuries that he's suffered, I'm good, man.
Yeah. And some of them freak injuries. Like, I mean, he had the elbow stuff, which was pretty scary. And his original physical when they signed with Boston was not great, and it was like, oh, this might go bad in a bit there, and everybody knew the kind of like the psychological aspect to it too, the cutting up of the jersey when he was all mad in Chicago,
That was
like,
awesome.
there are so many wild card factors with him, like punch a wall, break his hand stuff, that like he is one of the most high variance bets you could possibly make, and it hasn't
Yes.
paid off in recent memory.
Yeah.
Probably does not warrant his current ADP, but everybody's mind is like, hey, he was almost Cy Young worthy a couple of times, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hopped in a dinger here, and we rolled the last pick, so we are safe to talk about San
Nice.
Diego real quickly. Here, Xander Bogaerts signed that big ass deal that's going to carry him into his 40s. They currently have him as leading off. He's probably undervalued, but in the same way we made the case for Justin Turner with the wall, now we're taking the wall away from Xander Bogaerts, and he's got pop, but he doesn't have, big boy pop. Moving to this ballpark, I could see that home run total dip like pretty significantly.
It'll be interesting. It'll be really interesting to see. And I wonder when Tatis comes back if he's still. I mean, I don't. Maybe Tatis leads off. I mean, this lineup is just like it's hilarious. This team is so freaking good.
Yeah.
When you get Tatis back in there, like this 1 through 5 just doesn't make sense how good it is.
There's an article on MLB.com right now where it's like there was a quote, and I haven't clicked on it yet, but the quote is just you could pick 1 through 4 out of a hat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you really could. I mean, like I think Soto is for sure like the 2 hole, but you could talk putting him in the at leadoff because his on base percentage is just like insane. Um, but I think
Hot take, Nez.
yeah,
Hot take. I think Juan Soto should be the 101.
dude,
Like, I
I've
don't
been
even think
taking
that's that hot, is it?
I've been taking him 101. I'm not even
Yeah,
joking.
yeah. I
Um,
respect that.
Judge is the 102 though. Like
Mhm.
let's be clear. This is not that's not a Judge take. That's a holy shit. Look at this lineup, and like the floor on Juan Soto is just unbelievable. What he gives you guaranteed, like ceiling withstanding. This is cool.
Um, yeah, we're on the clock here at the turn, and I kind of just want to go ahead and click Kyle Tucker and Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, I mean, like it's that simple for me.
Yeah, I think there is a clear tier break. I do not put Kyle Schwarber. I know it's an outfield eligibility thing. I do not put Kyle Schwarber kind of like anywhere remotely close to this. I think Kyle Tucker could be the number one outfielder this year if things break right for him. He is that type of player. And Freddie Freeman, just an absolute model of consistency every single day in the middle of that lineup. He's just going to show up and he's going to hit 290. He's going to hit 300 and he's going to hit 25 plus out. And that what else can you say about a guy who's that good, right?
Freeman
Let's
could lead
jump.
all batters in points scored. For
Yes,
fantasy.
absolutely.
Like,
I think I could make a case for both those guys leading the league in point score. I could not make that same case for like the guys who go after him.
yeah, not Schwarber.
Definitely
I
not
like
Schwarber.
Schwarber, but yeah, has his
Um,
drawbacks.
yeah, for sure. Anything else? San Diego. It's going to be very interesting to see what comes to fruition between the Matt Carpenter, the Nelson Cruz, the Trent Grisham, and I don't know. Do they bring Jerkson Profar back on like a 1-year deal or something like that? That's still
The
looming.
clock's ticking, man. Like I don't know like what
Yeah.
Profar is waiting for necessarily, like what kind of contract he's hoping to get, but I think these GMs and these owners, like their money's spent. Not a lot of people are
Mhm.
holding out cash, and like I don't really know like what kind of deal he's waiting for because I don't think he's going to get what he's hoping for at this point. And
Mhm.
San Diego makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it really makes a lot of sense for him to come back there and just be like, hey, you know what? I'm getting 400 plate appearances this year instead of getting 600 somewhere else. But
Mhm.
I know he thinks he played well enough last year, and he probably did play
Yeah.
well enough last year to warrant an everyday role. But would you rather an everyday role with, I I can't even. You know where he would actually fit kind of nice is back with the Rangers. I don't know if the
Yeah,
Rangers want to go down that rabbit hole again because he was a former top prospect of theirs. Like do all that
just a lot
narrative.
of cash, but he would be so good there. He would be
Mhm.
so good there. Like,
Yeah. Easy saying the Yankees. The thing about the Yankees is they're paying so much money to Aaron Hicks and Harrison Bader to then replace him with Jurickson Profar doesn't feel great. You could move
and they got young
Stanton
guys
to
in the wings too. Like, I don't think he would.
Mhm,
I mean, like, yeah, if that's your team, like, yeah, of course, I'm sure you would. I'm sure you would. But
mhm.
just like objectively speaking, I don't think that that's a move that they're looking to make.
Yeah. Um, Here's an interesting one. Ton of talk about Cassis was bad, test disappointing last year. We're talking about a guy who slashed obviously the 197 isn't that crazy, but like the 358 408 with 5 bombs and less than 100 plate appearances at 22. There you go. That's a very sharp point. Yeah, I respect that for sure.
Yeah, I don't really care about that. I mean, he still finished with a 120 WRC plus. So,
Right. Yeah. And it's
like,
such a small sample for such a young guy that like there shouldn't be any FUD. Maybe he shouldn't be getting hyped to the ceiling in which already like at. But yeah.
he's gonna be good. Like,
Mhm.
he's gonna be good.
Yeah. Matt bringing up one here that he's been flipping with Tucker on the other side of the board and creates fun textures. I mean,
Mm.
absolutely. Like it got into my head like Julio Rodriguez versus Kyle Tucker this year. I couldn't give you a good answer.
It's really not as it's not a huge gap.
Right. Yeah. I
It's
feel the
really
same
not.
way.
Tucker is somebody that could really benefit if he gets more aggressive on the base paths. He could see a big bump in his score.
Hmm. Dang, I was really hoping Carlos Rodon fell to us right there. I do think there's a bit of a tier break at pitcher with him. I do not love this side of the board right now, and I usually scroll the F down and take Luis Robert and Byron Buxton, something like that, and get a little crazy with it. Who do you like, Nez?
Brian Reynolds.
He's so boring.
Come
All right,
on.
just for you.
Don't listen to Eno. Don't listen to Eno, man.
I'm
He's
not. I've had these opinions for 2 years, and you know I've had these opinions for 2 years.
he's gonna he
He's
wants he
outperformed his peripherals.
he's gonna hit well, man, and he's putting on power. I'm telling you. And then
Okay.
after this here is where it gets interesting. I like Marcus Simeon a lot.
Uh-huh.
And I also like those two outfielders if you want to get ahead of the outfielder Cliff, but that would be my three.
Okay, let's get ahead of the outfielder Cliff, and let's take George Springer here, and it's because baseball likes him. He likes him as like a bounce back guy. He likes him as a leadoff guy.
As one of the best players on his favorite team.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, no, last year he was healthier than I remembered last year. I do
Mhm.
not remember him playing 133 games. I thought that he was maybe it's because he was like perpetually like day to day or something, but I thought that he played way less than that. But what's like really nice, like he slugged less than he did in years past, and I think, like I said, like he was a little dinged up.
Mhm.
But he cut down his K rate like significantly. Which is pretty good to see. The walk rate was
Well,
like
that
still the
that's
same.
great. That's great to see when you're hitting in front of like such premium hitters like Vlad, right?
Yeah, Vlad, Bo,
Oh.
Varsho, Kirk. This is a really, really good lineup. I think George
Mhm.
Springer should probably be. I mean, and I think we got him at a pretty good value, but this is actually where he goes now. Is like the 3-4 turn, and I think we
Mhm.
should be putting him ahead of like. I think he should be going around like pick like 31.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I mean, especially because we've seen it before. I can't remember who made the comp. It might have been Eno on like their show because their ADPs that they're dealing with from NFBC are so starkly different. But
Yeah,
George Springer is going behind Corbin Carroll in that format. And like something like that, it just doesn't make sense to me because it's kind of like if you're
steals.
just looking at fantasy points, like our platform is like 1v1 in terms of fantasy points, I don't see a way which Corbin Carroll outscores George Springer other than injury, right? Like he
No.
would literally, like just in terms of counting stats, he would have to lead off all year long. And we've talked about Arizona's outfield and how deep it is and what they could do with pieces. He would have to steal 35 bags. He'd have to hit 15 home runs and he'd have to hit leadoff all year long.
Yeah.
George Springer could do all those things except for just flip the 30 and the 15 the other way.
Exactly.
Right?
I'm so into George Springer. He feels so good.
Yeah.
Can't.
For the record, I never ever in my life would have taken Brian Reynolds ahead of Luis Robert. I think Luis Robert is like dark horse AL MVP right now.
That's what I always thought too. I always thought that about Luis Robert, and then I kind of had to like pump the brakes a little bit on Luis Robert, just because.
If you don't fuck with a dude whose nickname is the Tool Shed, I mean, come on.
I know. Nickname equity is strong with that one, but he doesn't take like any walks, and that's definitely a bit of a problem.
He's definitely a free swinger.
But that's a nice stack there, like we just see at the 3-hole there with GDE, getting Robert and Eloy. If those guys are healthy, that's the all-time dice roll with DeGrom, Robert, and Jimenez. Like if all three of those guys stay healthy, but specifically talking about the White Sox, getting Robert and Jimenez both healthy for the majority of a season is crucial to their output, and it should be, if they're healthy, they're going to absolutely deliver. Eloy is a big boy. I would love to see him put a full season together.
I would like to see him stop playing the outfield and just play
100%.
DH, right? Like just embrace your role and just be like, you know what? I'm just going to try and be Frank Thomas for this ball club for the next 10 years.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with trying to be a Hall of Famer for this club.
and I don't know. I think he might it's just like the competitiveness in him. Maybe they need him to play the outfield. I'm not sure, man. But his health should be the number one concern of that team. And 40 homer upside for Eloy if he can stay healthy.
I agree. I love what GDE has started with here. Getting the Soto discount at 3. I mean, we've talked about Sandy. I'm not huge in Sandy, but I get it. I usually thrust up. I thrust up a lot of these guys over Sandy, admittedly. But like just going with like the 2 ace, 3 outfielder with the mini stack, with the ceiling of these two, coupled with the ceiling of potentially 2 Cy Young candidates on both leagues there. I mean, that's a real nice start in my opinion.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite ways to do these right now. Is
I know it's high variance, but it's so fun, right?
Yeah.
Bregman goes there, which is a little unfortunate for the stack equity that we could have put with Tucker. I don't.
So I like you, Darvish, if you're looking to make a decision here.
Okay. I mean, they just gave him that added 4-year contract.
Which is kind of crazy, right? Because he's old, and they're like, here's 4 more years.
6 years. 6 year.
Yeah, 6. It's insane. But he should rack up a ton of wins and quality starts.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I like Gausman.
I always click on Chris Bryant's name here. I don't know why, but I just always just go like, oh yeah, it's Coors. Oh yeah, it's bounce back, former MVP. Like he signed that big deal. Yeah. Okay, sure. Let's go with Gausman here.
I really feel good about those 2 guys. They're not sexy, so to speak, as far as like the pitchers that go ahead of them, but absolute like Cy Young potential for both of them.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And both like heavy pitch mixed, established veterans. One of them's in a nice ballpark, the other is not. But like Gausman's sinker plays well in general.
Two splitter guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2 splitter guys, exactly.
Mm-hmm. I like the way that plays.
Yeah, I'd like to know what you think about Robbie Ray just in general here. Like, do you think we're going to get Robbie Ray back to that Cy Young caliber that we saw with Toronto? Or do you think it's kind of more the Arizona guy that we've seen for years where he lacks the control, and he just throws hard as fuck and grunts at people, and the strikeouts will be there, but the ERA pushes up in that 4.5, 4.8 range, opposed to that three under three territory the
Right.
one isolated year.
No, I'm trying to like kind of pump the brakes on my disdain, if you want to call it, for Robbie. I don't take a lot of Robbie Ray, but like I've recently like just like thought about like these pitchers because I am trying to get more pitchers early in my drafts. And to answer your question, like, yes, I do. I don't know that he can be like a Cy Young guy
Yeah.
necessarily, but Robbie Ray is really good. Like he's still
Right.
really
Yeah.
good.
And he's a horse, right? Like he's an inning eating horse.
Dude, yeah, 190, 189 innings last year, 193 the year before. Throws, yeah, like you said, just eats innings. And good park to pitch in as well. And I think projection systems see him having the type of year that you just like posed to me as well. Like that's like the win total for the Mariners is like really high. They are considered to be contenders for the division. They're not necessarily favorites, but people think the Mariners are going to be like a really good team. And I think part of that is because of the staff and Robbie Ray is a major part of that.
Yeah. The staff and the pen, and then just hope they've done enough offensively.
Yeah, like the offense is obviously like it doesn't take like a genius to look at their team and be like, oh yeah, that's the weakest part of the team, because it is. But they're pretty well put together around that. And for someone like me who's been trash talking the Mariners pretty much all off season, I don't want to discount the fact that they've got a really nice staff.
Yeah, that's fair. I'd like to provide a real time update here. The Northeastern Huskies right now, they have put up goose eggs on the Red Sox through three more here, so it's still only 5-0, 5 cobb as the kids say. There we go.
Scouting.
Northeastern putting up a fight here, top of the fourth.
That was great. Let's see who we got coming back here.
Little Varsho stack seems interesting for us. Jazz Chisholm is just like a fun bet on ceiling, just because he's just such a fun player to watch.
Yeah, I don't take him a lot.
No, I think that's because you see O'Neal Cruz in the exact same range every single time.
Yeah,
and you take him there.
Yeah, don't do it.
I was trying not to say Tyler Glasnow's name because I really wanted him to come back. Because if I was drafting by myself in this tier, I might have taken Glasnow over Kevin Gausman. So to see him fall back would have been something. O'Neal Cruz would have been nice for a little stacking partner with Brian Reynolds. How about a Varsho mini stack with Springer here? I don't take much Varsho.
Yeah, Varsho I think gets like artificially I like Varsho here. Let me start off with that. Like that's a fine pick. But I think he gets like a bump from like the other fantasy communities because he has that catcher eligibility. But I still think he's good because outfield is really scarce for us. So I think it kind of cancels out. Now here,
do you want an arm, an outfielder, an infielder?
I love this range. I love everybody that we see right now. So
me too, actually.
Like Adames, I think if you're going to go by projections, would be like the pick. But I like Hunter Green and Blake Snell as well if you want to get an arm.
I would have taken Blake Snell over Hunter Green. I think Hunter Green has more electric stuff. He could be a better pitcher long term. I just don't see any reason for them to push him as hard as they will push Blake Snell this year.
Exactly. It's a bummer.
So for me, it's a big like, hey, if I'm going to get another one there, I'm going to get some of those elite innings. I do like the Kyle Wright pick there too, just in terms of quality starts and wins being such a high priority on Underdog comparative to other fantasy sites. But I totally agree with you in this range. I can make a narrative for every single player here. I could have made a narrative for thrusting up Pena. I could make a narrative for Tyler O'Neill, who I love. Anthony Santander, I'm a big fan of. And usually, someone grabs him before this range.
This is a huge clump of quality outfielders that are all about to just go We're not going to see a
Mhm.
single
It's
one on the way back.
it's kind of that final tier break for me where things start getting dicey, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we have ourselves pretty well set up with four outfielders, right? I really like the way that this team is rounding out. Like we get some elite production at our non-outfield positions while making sure that we take advantage of the inflation of the outfield ADP. So
Mhm.
who are the other two again? We got Reynolds, Tucker, Springer, and Varsho.
Yes. Yeah.
Shit, man, that's nice.
That's pretty nice. I think this Milwaukee Brendan Tuma, shout out Underdogs, Underdog Network primary baseball writer there, threw out a tweet today that I put some stacks associated with, but he really likes some of the Milwaukee stuff, and I tend to agree with him. Good hitters park, pretty undervalued lineup in general, and then I just kind of like. I mean, Willie Adames is perennially undervalued, but I really like pairing some late Rowdy Tellez with this. And if we have to reach in quotations, like, 5 to 8 picks, I'm entirely fine with that to take
Yeah,
him at the corner here, you
I'm a
know?
big fan of Rowdy.
Mhm.
They so I believe I saw sheep mentioning that did I think Luke Voigt signed with the Brewers.
Oh, nice. Okay, I did
Yeah,
not know that. Thank you for
yeah.
that.
So that's really interesting. That was I really like that pickup for them. And it seems
My
like he's gonna be like probably like DHing with a little bit of like platoon with Tellez, but Tellez was always going to be sitting more often than not versus lefties.
Agreed.
Even before Voigt got there. But I've really like Rowdy Tellez is undervalued again this
Mhm.
in these drafts.
Yeah, just a good, big, beefy baseball boy where left-handed power plays so well in Milwaukee, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, not enough said. Truly.
Yeah, get used to hearing Rowdy Telez's names when we get some dinger or when we get some dailies and projection models come out, because nobody on planet Earth loves Rowdy Telez more than Derek Carty. Like, holy fuck. He will be the number one player every single day, and he will get thrust up in these daily drafts going at the 1-2 turn every single time. It's
Yeah.
crazy, man.
Yep. It's true.
If you just upload some bad X projections, forget about it,
Oh
man.
yeah, that you're gonna get all the Rowdy and deservingly
Um,
so because he's good.
I rarely take any Matt Chapman, but we could pair him in this
We
build kind
should.
of fun. Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, I mean, as far as a floor and ceiling combo, you get the floor of the fact that he will have down stretches. Like Matt Chapman is like, if you've ever owned him in like traditional fantasy, he can like make you want to pull your hair out sometimes. But he's gonna get a ton of plate appearances and in a really good lineup where he's gonna end up getting a lot of counting stats just because he's
Yeah,
surrounded by
he
really good
he
players.
might be the best defender in baseball, period.
Period.
Yeah, and that keeps him in the lineup every single day. And I was thinking stacking partners here, and I kind of like thrusting up Muncy to take with Freeman. Or do you like another name? Do you rather go with a pitcher here?
I think maybe Morton or Bassett.
Okay, let's take Morton then. Oh, all right.
Yeah, we're good.
I
We're
think I
good.
like I think I like Morton slightly more than Bassett. He's kind of just an older version of Chris Bassett, but a little bit more reliant on the breaking ball opposed to the fastball now. Chris Bassett showed some good velo last year that I didn't know he
Yeah.
had.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I
Um,
was unfamiliar with his game in that department, but it's somebody that like I'm really warming up to. I think he can pitch a lot of innings. I just think Morton specifically is going to have. I mean, if he can limit some of the long ball stuff, he should have positive regression in the win and quality start department.
Good
Uh,
point.
he pitched a ton of innings last year and did not amass the wins and quality starts that he probably should have if there was an expected advanced statistic for that. So I think that'll swing his way, and just like a nice floor for our pitchers.
Mhm. Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, Den, this is what we're trying to tell the people. Is like, I think people are scared to click on baseball because they think it's like the same as football in terms that they have to know like so much knowledge. Baseball is far more accessible, and I think people are also scared to click on it because it's not as, accessible. I guess we would say. Like the
In the
NBA
same
is,
vein, yeah.
yeah, the NBA is like in your face. The NFL's in your face. Like baseball's kind of like
A little more
painted as
niche.
this like,
Yeah.
yeah, niche old man's game. Fuck that shit. Let's get that out of here. Let's get rid of those old ass narratives. That's not what this is about anymore, man. Like this shit is fun as hell and it's way way deeper. So like you don't have to have like who's this like nobody knows who the hell they're drafting in the 16th round of these big board drafts right now.
No,
Nobody knows if they're even going to be on teams.
they
Nobody
don't.
knows if they're like let alone if they get hurt in training camp. Like we don't know. We're just throwing like blind darts like this, right? Like what's the
Mm.
meme with Sandra Bullock? That's
The bird box.
yeah, the bird box.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
granted,
Flying totally blind.
we're going to do our fair share. We're going to have a laugh. We're going to go through them. But if you really want to like just enjoy, like we got baseball on TV right now, right beside me, we have baseball on and we're just going to be drafting some baseball teams, having a laugh. It's way more chill. There's so many different ways to build as long as you kind of stay within 5 to 8 at each of the 3 positions and maybe you consider stacking, you can't really go wrong. Like you're
No,
going to have a live team. Like
I
that's
know.
the difference, right?
Yeah, it's so fun. Like in terms of like building rosters, thinking through the players, and even as a casual,
Mhm.
I can understand the intimidation. But like the thing is like you said, like you're not going to build like you can build some dog shit teams in football in best
Mhm.
ball. You can really build like in here you could probably accidentally build yourself like a decent team. Like it's totally viable. Like nobody's team is
Right.
going to be like absolutely dead unless you build like completely like nutty. Listening to us, I think you're going to be in good shape. And also, man, like I get baseball's hard to break into, but I love MLB TV too. Like there's nothing
Mhm.
better than just like quickly going from game to game, maybe throwing on big inning if I'm cooking and I don't want to like, go and do the manual switching, but like that is such a good product to watch baseball as well.
Mhm.
Man, I love the summer.
Yeah, likewise, man. Likewise. Yeah, we're gonna convert some people this year. And like the thing is, you could draft football any other time. You can only draft baseball right now for 1 more month.
Exactly.
So
That's well
draft
said.
draft baseball for 1 more month right now and then enjoy your entire summer drafting football, right? Enjoy
There you
the
go.
entire summer drafting football, but with the sweat equity in the background of like, hey, I'm drafting football now, but I'm watching the baseball game out of the corner of my eye because if my guy hits a home run, that's 16 points, that's 14 points, that's
Yeah,
18 points.
it's
Like,
some battle royale funds for you once that hits in September.
exactly, right? It works on so many levels. That was our baseball sales pitch.
I'm looking at this tier that we have here. Pitching gets really gross. This is where we start to see the Minnesota guys with their
Mhm.
with which like limit your ceiling because this is likely to be like a 6-man rotation slash not like pushing innings, but I still think they have a really good rotation, to be honest.
Yeah, I tend to agree there. I like thrusting up the Jesus Lizard here a
Me
little
too.
bit. I've always been
He
in
should
on
probably
him.
be he should probably be up here.
Yeah, I like that. Joey Menendez has been getting some love. Not from me yet, but been getting some love in general.
Yeah.
Not sure whether we need to take him right now, but just
Yeah, I
something
think
of
we
note.
we I think we padded ourselves enough from outfield that we can take some of the like raw points elsewhere.
Okay.
And
And where do you think those reside
dude,
between
I'm such
that
an
group?
Adley stan, but if you want to
Okay.
take one of your Seattle guys, go ahead. But I think Adley is just like everything that was promised and then some.
Yep.
In his like limited, so he played 113 games as a catcher and
Mhm.
almost put up 1,000 points last year. 133 WRC plus, almost walks as much as he strikes out. With power, in a good lineup, like dude, I take Adley almost like every time.
Mhm. Yeah, I
Yeah,
respect
Brian, we
that. I
got you.
mean, like, we got you. No, I respect that too. I've been taking a lot of Adley when I already have Santander or Mullins and kind of doing mini stacks. And that's been my approach with Adley. I rarely take him like on his lonesome. I don't know why. I think that might just be a mental block for me.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, but if I was doing in the, I guess it would have been the first one, the bullpen, before when Gunner would fall a little bit or people would leave Gunner, I would double tap Gunner and Adley at the
Yeah.
corner or something like that. I was doing a lot of
That
that.
feels really good too. I think Gunner he'll definitely. I feel like he has a really safe floor.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how well he'll produce, but he feels really safe. Everyday guy, uh,
Mhm.
hitting toward the top of that lineup. He should be really solid.
Eno pointed out something the other day that I was listening to, that his average exit velocity was 4.9 miles per hour harder than Corbin Carroll's in the big leagues last year.
Really,
Yeah. So like just in terms of like rookie profiles and like everyone's going gaga over Carroll
yeah.
because largely because of the outfield eligibility and the threat of stolen bases, there's no reason that Gunnar Henderson can't hit 30 home runs next year. I mean, granted, the park isn't as good as it once was. They moved the fences up and out, but
He's got a lot of power.
he's got a little pop. Yeah, he's a fun player.
Orioles are Orioles are fun, man. Like I said, I just wish they
Mhm.
just would have added just a little bit more, but they're so content on just like not paying anybody.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're still scared after the last time, the Chris Davis.
Yeah, like they're just
They're
like never
they're still
again.
scared
And
to
Mike
pay
Elias
anybody.
coming
Yeah.
from the school of Astro Ball too, like
Yeah.
so yeah, like this first 5, 6, man,
Mhm.
really solid. Now don't
You
look
know
at
who
their
would look nice in this lineup at DH? Trey Mancini.
yeah, and said you got to trade him whenever your team is hunting for the postseason.
Yeah. I still, I mean, maybe that comes to fruition down the road. I can't remember what they got for him as like a
And we
rental
never will
piece.
remember what they got for him. We
Right.
never will because it wasn't anybody substantial. It's like for
Well,
what?
yeah.
GDE
We're in a
he's listening.
Dude, GDE is on one right now. He's got some nice stuff going here. I like
Say
this.
hi.
Then he gets a little mini stack here with the Hap and knows that they're in Coors for that final week. Um, but I was really hoping that we would have either had Muncie fall back or Will Smith fall back here, or this Rowdy Telez fall back here, because this Rowdy Telez pick is this Will Smith is about ADP. I think the Max Muncie one is slightly ahead, and the Telez one is about 20 picks ahead. So I was really hoping that we would have some stacking partners
Wow.
in that regard.
Wow.
Jeffrey Springs is really interesting. Just in not that we were going to select him there, but just really interesting in terms of like in the bullpen, he was going undrafted at some frequency.
He was like a 20th round pick.
Right. And then he
And then
gets the
and
contract, he gets paid, and he gets thrust up. Everyone was laughing at me for taking Jeffrey Springs. And they're like, why would you guys? We did our first show, and you guys, why would you want Jeffrey Springs when I took him in the 20th? And now all of a sudden he's going in the
I
15th,
repent.
you
I
know,
apologize
13th. It
because
was
I was scooping him
crazy.
up after that contract got announced. Like I was scooping him up all
Mhm.
over after that.
Yeah.
So we got a nice little balanced team here.
Yeah, we
I don't
do.
think that we need to force the issue really anywhere. We kind of just like have our lovely like we just get to pick who we want. I would say probably none of these pitchers. We have 4 pitchers already. Um,
Yep. I think Luis Garcia is in a tier of his own, and I generally take him here.
yeah, so
Just
I take a
compare.
ton of Luis Garcia.
I think I kind of like Luis Garcia comparative to everything else here. I have not been taking a ton of Andrew Benintendi, but if that lineup is as good as we think it is, and there's some bounce back there, that might be a nice fun pick. Let's take Garcia
Yeah.
because I kind of want to get a fifth pitcher here. And then
Hmm.
I'm open to whomever you would want. We could do a stack with McCutcheon. We could do a stack with Hayes.
Hmm.
We could scroll the F down and get ahead of this Salvi Perez because I think his price tag's broken. Um,
I kind of like Salvi.
okay.
It's the guy that we were kind of talking up. Uh,
Hmm.
Huge spike week potential because, like, yeah, he's going to come with some downs, but he can string together like weeks where he's putting up like 3 home runs in a week. And that's
Hmm.
that's going to start for you.
I undersold his big power year that said he was like 50 something or 40 something ish home
At
runs. He hit
51.
51.
Yeah, man.
Holy.
And they gave him a lot of money too. And so that was like a really, that was a big vote of confidence. Like, hey, like you're old and you're playing catcher and you just had surgery and they were like, we're giving you money anyways. Like that
Right.
to me, like kind of like said a lot. I'm like, okay, so this dude has a lot left in the tank, clearly.
Mhm. I like this shout from Easy here.
Like
I
Giga
really,
Steel.
yeah, I really like McMahon. I noted him in one of my my favorite stacks was those late ones, those late stacks being the Rockies ones, and
Right.
they're readily available between McMahon. What's the rookie's name again? I'm
Ezekiel
blanking.
Tovar.
Tovar, Rogers.
Rogers.
Yeah, Grichuk
Mhm.
has been pushing up a little bit. Grichuk's got some health concerns right now,
Dude,
which is
I don't do Grichuk.
you
And
don't do Grichuk. Yeah, that's fair.
I advise our listeners to not do Grichuk either. I really
Mhm.
just don't think that his profile like disgusts me. Like you don't see a lot of on base percentage of him like year over year, like over 300, and
Right.
that hurts me.
Mhm.
I don't like that. How about little Jonathan Daza for you?
Yeah, interesting because I haven't taken Daza
Me
much at
neither.
all. But if he does wind up being the leadoff hitter for this team with no Connor Joe there anymore, because Connor Joe and him basically platooned last year.
Right.
If he can find his way into everyday at bats, I've heard worse, but it might be a little thin for our game. But
I think so.
you will definitely hear his name when we start building those days up at Coors stacks in the daily contests, right?
He hit 300.
Um,
I mean, 300 last year with the 350 on base percentage.
mhm. Not
His
much pop
WRC
though.
wasn't going to be that. No. His slugging is 380, so he doesn't slug
Yeah,
much.
he doesn't.
But
It's a big singles profile.
mhm. Yeah. So definitely not
There goes
strongly
Hunter
advising that. But
Brown's new
dude,
Hunter
that's where he
Brown's new
goes.
price tag. Yeah.
Literally, like it's getting a bit ridiculous. Just a bit. I'm
Yeah.
surprised that like maybe I'm just like underrating the field and the dudes that we're drafting against. I'm surprised how quickly that caught up.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the people doing baseball are baseball guys, right? So,
Yeah,
um, yeah, I
true.
still I still think that might be a little high. Like I know he's a big prospect. I know he's got elite stuff. Um, it gives me. Here's your comp. You know what it gives me?
Huh.
It gives me big Matt Brash vibes from last year.
Yeah. Yeah, I could. I mean, I think that we do when we get the new shiny toys, right, and they're in the rotation, they're starting. We kind of don't think about or don't want to like see and recognize how short these leashes can be for these guys. Hunter Brown has nasty stuff. Don't get
So
us wrong, but you
Matt
watch Matt
Brash,
Brash,
yeah,
nasty stuff as well.
Matt Brash touching 99 and had the Eno said this is the best stuff plus grade I've ever given to a slider.
Dude, it was
And he
sick, and you could see it.
and you could see it and it was so filthy, but in our game it doesn't really fucking matter, like these rookies have such short leashes, and if the team's out of contention, granted the Astros likely will not be out of contention late, even if they're in a six-man rotation, how many Hunter Brown starts are we getting when all the money's on the line in September?
Yeah, I tell you what, man, I would rather do a 20th round Jose Urquidy.
Yep.
Like
Yes.
he's going to be starting all year, and he's and
Yeah.
like what he is, what you're getting from him. But
Mhm.
I'm always such a big Urquidy guy, but I'd rather do that.
Yeah, I like that. Um, all right, I got some ideas. I got some ideas here.
Okay.
I really like Jonathan India, Ketel Marte. I really
Hmm.
like Ramon Laureano because I think he's going to play out of his mind and try and get traded.
I think
He
so
had the
too.
PED suspension last year, so you can't look at his numbers in totality. And I really like Michael Conforto's price tag, coupled with the fact that they're in Coors for the final week of the season, and there are some cheap out infielders we could pair him with later.
Yeah, it is hard to pass over these infielders that we've been like talking up and like now mentioning, but these
Uh-huh.
are this is there's not a lot of good outfielders after this.
Yeah. In retrospect, if we didn't take Rutschman and Chapman and we were kind of in this range with only two or three infielders, this is where I like to double tap infield opposed to double tap outfield.
Hmm. Yeah, that's fair. I do a lot of Marte in India down here too. Um,
Mhm.
just to like Tel Marte was a top 100 pick last year. Jonathan
Right.
India was a top 100 pick last year. Like for real, they were. And
Mhm.
now we doubled their price tag because of some down years. I don't know. I've been in a 100 Brown.
Yeah, there you go. I typed that before you said it. There you go.
LOL.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. That's perfect. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of how I feel right now, right?
But
Oh, here you go. Jeff. Jeff's drafting from that 3-hole there.
no, what up?
Thanks for gassing up my team.
That's hey man,
That's good.
you're in the right place. The outfielders or the pitchers in this range, it wasn't always this gross, and it suddenly got really gross. I
Mhm.
think people
Yeah.
started to thrust up pitchers earlier, and now we're left with like Gonsolin, Michaelis, McCullers, who McCullers is going to find himself in like the 200s in a week.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
what like I like I are you have you taken any Adam Wainwright or would you take Adam Wainwright? And
No.
no offense to Sheen
I
Machine, like he's okay, but
Yeah. I have not. No. I mean, he lacks everything I stand for. I could understand in certain, like, let's hypothetically say I took DeGrom, Glassnow, and Luis Severino.
mhm.
Those were my first three pitchers. I could see adding Adam Wainwright to that
Yeah,
as
yep,
just being like, hey, 165 innings. This is elite upside and thin. I need this solid veteran presence here.
yeah, mhm. I agree.
Outside of that, I don't know.
Yeah, and
Under
and yeah, good.
underrated talking point though, how Yachty being gone will affect his performance.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, he was arguably one of the best defensive catchers of our time, pains me to say, but
Oh,
it's
he
true.
was. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
and
He might be
that
one
will
of the.
make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And just the two of them had such a rapport, right?
Mhm. Yeah, for so long. It's kind of it's kinda
Yeah,
crazy.
Matt, I missed this one saying Salvi had 1,580 points in
Dude, he had
2021.
a
That's
monster year.
yeah, man. Like he was like we're not talking like catcher one, we're talking like player 10. Like
Mhm.
something like that, right? Like
Period.
that's how big. Yeah. Granted the team has changed a lot since then but it's range of outcomes, right? Range of outcomes is he had 51 homers, then he went down to 26, I believe, last year. Like give me 31 Salvi
He played
homers
50
in the
less games.
50 less games. There you go. So
Mhm.
what's his I mean, we could find out what his pace was. I mean, he probably if he stays completely healthy, he hits 35 last year and now you give me a full season of Bobby Witt Jr. hitting in front of him and this guy just going, "Hey, I'm going to collect 38 home runs and 110 driven in, hitting right behind a first round pick or fringe second round pick in our game in Bobby Witt Jr."
Yeah, it's nice, man.
Yeah.
It's nice. I'm really into to Salvi's year. I don't know that we'll get 50 home runs, but
Mhm.
which is weird, man, because on Fangraphs they have him listed as 48. So I don't know. That's weird. Where's that coming from?
Wait, what? Like that year? The
Fi-
51 versus 48?
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna check Baseball Reference.
Yeah. See 51 right here from their stat provider.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know where that's coming from. It's not like they were in the playoffs. Um,
Interesting.
Yeah, baseball reference is 48 too. What's going on? Who,
Wow, that's
who's your
weird.
provider? Come on. Regardless, 48 to 51. I mean, it's insane. So
Oh, here you go. So Chip saying the team that took Wainwright, the pitchers in which I listed, fit that description. So
smart
kind of
people
like
in these rooms.
yeah, man, like a hyper fragile pitching staff that then they back up with
Yeah, with
Wainwright.
yeah, Chris Sale. Yeah, go ahead and get your insurance
Yes.
policy and Adam Wainwright.
Yeah, Sale plus Kershaw plus
Kershaw.
Hunter Green shutdown potential.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. Max
All
Scherzer
right,
age
Sheen.
concern. Yeah, all right. I like it.
Okay.
All right, we're in an interesting part of the board here. I think this is going to be a 6-pitcher team.
Yeah, I could go for 6.
We could take safe innings in Cobb. I always lean that way. Or Andrew Heaney, we were talking up a little bit earlier.
I think
There.
Heaney makes sense.
Okay. Should we scroll the F down for some stacking partners? Should we go
Yeah.
4 on the Toronto stack and either add Whit Merrifield or Kirk?
I think I
we
prefer Kirk, to be honest.
Okay. We could add Vargas to we have no backside Dodgers stack, so we could add Vargas or Chris Taylor.
Mm-hmm. I should
MJ
take
Melendez.
Oh yeah, I love MJ.
So you want to add MJ to Salvi instead?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
I love MJ.
Yeah, I like it too.
And I'm cool with like just making this a 6-8-6 and going for the raw points. Could do 6-7-7, but I just think these outfielders in rounds 19 and 20 just leave a lot to be desired as opposed to what we can bank on from the infield position
points
at this late. Like it's so much safer.
Okay. I would classify this team that we've currently built kind of as like anchor infield. So if we just pretend Freddie Freeman, let's just pretend we took Freddie Freeman. I mean, that we took him with the same pick, but let's just pretend Freeman was in front of Tucker, right? And we built this narrative of we took one infielder and then we waited 5 more rounds to take our next infielder.
Yep.
Right. So loading depth at infield just from like an ideological standpoint makes a lot of sense there. You could twist my arm. It kind of puts a condom on it. You could twist my arm into one more pitcher. But in terms of like innings for a 6-pitcher build where we didn't take a elite upside ace, these are pretty safe in Darvish, Gosman, Morton. And then you kind of get a little bit of Luzardo, Garcia, kind of, we need full seasons out of them. And then Heaney, we're just banking on a little bit of that elite production in isolated windows from him. Right.
Yeah, I think Heaney and Luzardo can both fit that description of like, let's capture some high strikeout starts from those guys. And then we have these veterans to plug in for the floor.
So would you cap pitcher then at 6 right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
I like who. So if you wanted to add a 7th pitcher, like who would you be considering here? What type of pitcher or like what name, I guess, would you be looking to add here? You know what I mean?
Herman Marquez makes a lot of sense. Michael Kopech makes a lot of sense for the other side. Like just in terms of like being like, okay, this is stable. Let's shoot for the moon with a guy. Or you could be like, this is slightly shaky with the last 3 here. Let's add some anchor innings to it in a guy like Sonny Gray, Herman Marquez, Jameson Taillon, Jose Urquidy fits the same mold as Kopech would, where it's like, let's chase a little bit of like maybe ceiling potential to add to this rotation. But the more I talk through it, the more I'm like, let's just cap it at 6.
Yeah. I really think that getting some raw points from our batters is what I'm leaning towards here. I really only do 7 unless like I'm really pushing it with the majority of my staff anymore. Could be a different year where that doesn't quite work out, but so Tyro Estrada has been getting a lot of steam, in our Discord.
I was about to say him or Wilmer Flores paired nicely with Michael Conforto as like a mini Coors stack where they'll likely be hitting adjacent to one another in that final week.
I like Thairo Estrada. I'm warming up to him.
Yeah.
He's probably going to be hitting toward the top.
Yeah, and less platoon risk now with a guy like Darren Ruff gone. Guys like this that were late inning bats off the bench for them. Yeah. I kind of think he fits this team nicely. I think Alejandro Kirk fits this team nicely. I think Luis Arias fits this team nicely as a mini stack, as a middle infield stack with Adames.
And a guy that we don't have a stack partner with right now, but I'm so in on Josh Naylor too.
I knew you were gonna say Josh.
That's my boy, man. I love Josh Naylor. Anytime he's in the
Canadian kid,
dude, and his brother Bo also mashes. Like they're just lot. I love Josh Naylor,
dude. How elite a name is Bo Naylor?
Oh come on, right?
Oh my god,
dude was
that guy's
born
500 home runs. 500 home runs.
Beast, man. Absolute beast. He's a catcher too. He's so tough.
Yeah, this is the three within the top 100 ADP.
Rough guidelines, but when I said that,
rule.
but it kind of holds true more or less. I mean, it depends on how late in the top 100 window you take those guys, but I think that more or less holds true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of like that. Tommy Pham, that's kind of fun there. Okay. We could put the Vargas upside breaking camp and with Freeman there, or we could scroll the F down to some of those names that we previously mentioned. Estrada, Luis Urias just went.
I really like Alejandro Kirk, but
Luis Estrada and Kirk.
Thairo, but yeah.
Sorry, yeah. I'm still thinking about Luis Urias. That's the first time I've seen Luis Urias get picked.
I know, of course. Chipsy. Good for you, dude. Man. Yeah, man. Kirk is such an incredible hit tool. You know, we have a lot of catchers on here, but I have no problem with it, honestly.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna DH a lot too. He's needed for this Blue Jays team. I love Alejandro Kirk. That would have been a good one for Pete to see, to get an idea of. He would love a guy like Alejandro Kirk.
That would have been a good one. Yeah, man. I've been mixing him in a little bit late. He's an absolute lefty killer. He smokes lefties. But yeah, obviously always at platoon risk. But the nice thing about Flores is like the multiple position thing. And without Darren Ruff, a little bit more first base from him this year. Like we could see Wilmer Flores play himself into 550 plate appearances on if we paint the picture that the Giants are a contending ball club and Haniger and Conforto stay healthy. Well, Wilmer Flores could be hitting in that 5 hole for a good portion of the year there with that. I don't know. Just as a pivot off Estrada, because I think it's making a similar bet.
I think so too. Like the platoonness of the Giants is always going to be a headache for us because like you can't really, you can't predict like who's gonna like are they gonna face lefties, but like even like mixing in like a little JD Davis with his pop, like it feels bad, but you never know if he can play his way into that lineup. But yeah, I think
especially with Evan Longoria gone now, JD Davis makes a lot of sense. Good hit tool, big prospect guy back in the day.
They've got David VR on roster resource, and I think David VR is good, but that's definitely a guess. I would not consider that to be like to last the whole season. Yeah, VR has his ups and downs. He strikes out 30% of the time. With a lot less home run upside than JD Davis.
Yeah, this is interesting. Yeah, they got Estrada leading off here. Crawford's glove keeps him in the lineup for sure. Lamont Wade and Austin Slater and Wilmer Flores kind of all become this hodgepodge platoon.
Yeah.
And Jock Peterson for that matter. Um,
There's been talk that they're trying to get Jock Peterson to play a little first base too.
that would make sense. I mean, he's
It would
got
make
the
a lot of
body type
sense.
for it now.
Yeah, I just don't. Does he have the mind for it? Is he trying
Um,
to?
yeah.
But JD Davis,
It,
man, I
teach
think
him
there's.
first base Scotty H style. Hey, Scotty H, get over there, buddy.
tell him how easy it is. It's the hardest
Uh,
goddamn job there is. Moneyball quote. Yeah, man. Somebody brought up JD Davis like a month ago or so in the Discord. I think that he makes a lot more sense to be the everyday third baseman than David VR does. But what the hell do I
yeah.
know?
No, I agree with you there. And I mean, like they didn't give up nothing for him, but giving up Darren Ruff like kind of was signal to be like, hey, like we want this piece. We're gonna take a swing at this piece, right? It made a lot of
Yeah,
sense for
yeah,
both
because they had
teams.
so many viable outfielders at that point.
Bo Naylor with Tampa. Is Zanino in Tampa still?
Zanino
I haven't
must
even.
be in Cleveland now.
Wow, I didn't know
I
that.
haven't been keeping
I
up
did
with the
not know
Zanino
that.
movement, but I love the Guardians. I
Mm.
smashed their win total. I think it was like 88 or 86 or something. It didn't matter to me. Look at this team, man. Look at this team.
Yeah, I mean it's a hodgepodge of unsexy names that are like if you're a stats nerd and baseball guy, they're pretty sexy.
Yeah.
But I think we might have seen Rosario and Jimenez's ceilings. Like I think we might have
Yeah.
seen both their ceilings.
Yeah.
I mean Josh Bell just perennially discredited and underrated. Like he's a good hitter.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
For a
but
first baseman, leaves like a tad to be desired, but he's a
yeah,
very good hitter still for any team.
give
Yeah.
up the switch hitting, man. Just give it up.
Just go lefty. Yeah, just go
Just
straight
give it
lefty.
up and hit fucking tanks and hit 250 instead. Like
He can
honestly.
I love him, but he can put together some ugly hacks sometimes,
Yeah.
man. When he looks bad, he looks like he should retire like that day. Like, when you get a bad Josh Bell hack, just like
Yeah.
all arms and it's like flat as it looks so awkward sometimes, but that's my guy.
That's a kind of fun name, Nolan Gorman, like just as like a late round, like post hype sleeper, still young kind of thing. Let's see what Bo Sox saying here. Interesting take. I think I go 7 pitchers often here. If I have a true ace or 3 top 100 to stop at 6 here. Yeah, I think that was kind of my mindset there too. But it was interesting. Nez talked me into the other way, so it's fun to hear multiple perspectives.
Yeah, let me
There.
see real quick. I think I'm up to like 50 drafts imported on in Spike Week. Just
Uh-huh.
to get an idea of my current construction right now. Uh let's see here. Out of 58 teams I have scraped, I do six pitchers, 20
Uh,
so 6, 7, 7. I'm trying to like clump them all together.
sure.
Um like 33% of the time I'm going 6 pitcher. And
Okay.
then we've got like 40% of the time 7 pitcher. And then I still have some 8s because going 0 pitcher is still fun. I don't
It
care.
is still fun.
I
It is
like
still fun.
I know Numi's out here trying to shove some knowledge in my cranium. Like, you can't predict the late round pitchers who's gonna be good. Watch me.
Watch me.
Watch me.
Bet your ass I'm gonna predict him.
Tyler Anderson, you're my
Yeah.
number 2. Let's go.
I love that so much. Oh man, fun draft there. I still have this one picked up, pulled up for a second. The Josh Young bet there seems really fun with like the mystery relevant pick. We talked about Tovar and
Yeah,
just
you'll have
like
to
the
read
ballpark,
off
the
because
lineup.
that's getting cut off.
Oh, sorry. Nico Horner, like just
That's a
he took
good
a big
one.
step forward last year.
That's a good one.
Oh, it cuts off a full round. My bad.
It does. Yeah.
Um, But the JP Crawford one was one I wanted. Sheen Machine took JP Crawford. I think if we're making that bet, I think we want to make the Colton Wong bet. I think,
Yeah, I think that feels better.
between the two, like I just feel like they're both big glove guys. They're both going to be in there every day if that team's competitive. But just the acquisition and the I mean, they traded for both of them, but the recent acquisition of like Colton Wong, and they've seen, 2 years out of JP Crawford, and they've been relatively good, but they've been kind of stagnant offensively, where it's like he just goes through ebbs and flows, but he's just kind of 260 with 10 home runs guy. That's just kind of who he is. He
Mhm.
profiles as a glove first shortstop who's I'm not sure that we've seen the ceiling, but I'm not sure we've seen the floor either. I don't know. Yeah.
I like Crawford, but
Yeah.
yeah, the last year from him is scary.
Mhm.
It wasn't good.
All right. Anyways, we can dive into a million other things here. Yeah, that was
That was
fun.
fun.
That was
I
good.
love
Yeah, I'm
baseball,
happy
dude.
spring training's back. We're gonna have more news. We'll probably have a shorter show on Monday, or we might have to switch up the time because we are planning out some content stuff on Monday, and we will have a more formal schedule for everyone. Hopefully after that meeting and what's going on there. But lots more baseball. Lots more baseball. We'll be talking through some of the spring trainings, ebbs and flows, the ADP movement in accordance with that. We're going to do some team previews, much like we did today, but in a more organized fashion. We will do some positional preview stuff, but I'm getting really excited to do some baseball stuff here together. So, anything to add, Nez?
No, nothing at all. I'll be in Discord all day though. So if you guys want to keep drafting, we'll be in there. Uh,
Love it.
love me some baseball. Lot more to come. Can't wait, man.
Yeah, love it. And for the audio listeners, it's top of the sixth here, and Northeastern has put three on the board. We got ourselves a 5-3 ball game.
Oh, all right.
Dude, Northeastern putting up a fight against the Bo Sox's ninth stringers. Uh, Great stuff. Okay, my dog's pawing at me. It's
I
time to
know.
roll here. Okay, do me a favor, hit that like, hit that subscribe on the way out the door. If you haven't already done so, click the link below and join that new Underdog channel. It's not only going to be us there are going to be more talented people as well. So you're going to want to check that out. Oh, man. Appreciate everybody hanging out, and get well, Numi. We will be back on Monday on behalf of myself, Nez, and the sick Numi, everybody's favorite time of the show. The end. Peace.